Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Today, hopefully most of today will be just turning you loose to go through the documents. On Canvas, there are a couple new ones. So this time I've only provided the Google Drive share for there's this IPython notebook. It's a collab notebook. So I think if you click that, then you can save a copy to your drive. And then the other one is the Word document. And so I'm going to start going through this, go through getting you set up in GitHub, and then it'll go back and start working on Python. So assignment-wise, if you get through the end of that document, you'll have your assignments for this week done, which are finish Rosalind 1 through 9 and submit GitHub commit history. So the last thing in this Word document is submitting that GitHub history. And the second to the last thing finishes Rosalind number 9. I did look over the Unix quizzes. People did really well, as an average, right? Much better than last semester. Good job. What I'll do, I think, just in terms of time efficiency and letting people get to work on this, if you have questions about Unix when we're coming around later after I turn you loose, we can talk about the quiz as much as you want. You can look at your particular quiz and what you have questions on. Okay, so let me switch over here. So where we're going to start is with GitHub. What is it? This is really the default repository for almost all open source projects, at least ones that are at any scale. So I use Git and GitHub interchangeably. I don't think I'm going to show you any Git from like command line Git. There are some things that are more efficient to do from the command line, but I don't know. It's just one more thing that I decided to not introduce. Just for the sake of time, it's easy to find out how to do that. A lot of times if you ask Gemini or ChatGPT about how to upload something to Git, it'll always give you the upload to GitHub. It will often give you the Git as an option, like you could run this from the command line if you want to. GitHub is really just the web interface for it. Why are we going to use it? Reproducibility. I showed how the collab notebooks keep a history of your changes. GitHub is kind of the same thing. It's has a few more tools for tracking. The main thing, and I'll get down to in the vocabulary, is its ability to branch. So reproducibility is a big one because it tracks all the history. the accountability. So having a commit history shows me that you're actually doing work on your own. Safety, in terms of safety, like backup is what I mean by safety. So you have a backup that is residing not in your Google Drive. You know, overwriting, deleting, it happens. GitHub, because of that version tracking too, you can always roll back. Like you accidentally overwrite something even though you didn't want to, or you had a big code block that you deleted and then accidentally saved. Okay, you've got a history that you can roll back changes. It has integrated AI code assistance. Collab is so good now that I don't know how much we'll actually use in GitHub, but GitHub does have powerful interactions. It's not limited to Gemini, sort of in the interface. You can use multiple LLMs, whichever you prefer. Gemini is not in it, I don't think, yet. And then, like I said, it's the primary code hosting platform for open source projects. So transferable skill set if you play with and get used to using GitHub. I know lots of my colleagues' labs do everything through GitHub. Their whole lab is sort of structured around when they write papers, they write them in GitHub, because then you can track what everybody is doing. So just vocabulary, I guess you can think of the repository as the folder that holds all of your stuff. You can have multiple repositories. The repo is what everybody calls them, just as a shorthand. When you commit, that's like a save. The remote copy is the one that's at GitHub, and the only reason that comes up is that if you decide to download the desktop version, which you can, I'm not going to talk about it very much, but it can be handy to have a local version. So that's the local versus the remote. Pushing stuff, that's when you commit. Pulling stuff, and really this is just vocabulary, is downloading the latest changes. And again, that's if you're running a local version, which we're probably not going to do, at least in the near term. And then, like I said, one of the powerful reasons, and the reason this is kind of the default version manager for open source projects, is the ability to branch. What that does is you can essentially save a parallel version of the code. And so you can be making modifications to your branch of the code or a branch of the code and not breaking the rest of the code, especially as code gets longer and more complex and you've got more interacting parts. You might want to branch it, work on a chunk that you know if that was your only copy, it would break other parts. So that way you can sort of tweak it and see whether it works in the whole workflow of the code without breaking the original project. Okay, and you can also have multiple people working on the same section that way. They all have a different branch. You also sometimes hear of a fork. So a fork is if somebody takes a complete copy of a whole project, a whole repo, and then starts working on that independently. And you can merge branches and you can merge forks. And what that does is, okay, say the teams worked on their independent sections. We've got multiple branches of this project now. Okay, we can collapse those and sort of commit the changes so that now we're back to sort of one main branch that is now the new version of our software. So let's create our first one. You go to github.com and log into your account. Hopefully you remember your password. Depending on the width of your screen, you'll either see a plus sign there, or it may have words. I have a whole bunch, but yours may just be blank over here in the left toolbar. So click New Repository, and that will bring you to a new window for setting this up. Please don't vary from the naming conventions that I've given you, or you may lose points on submissions, because this is the code to look through this stuff depends on file names, and the less auditing of individual ones I have to do, the better. So name it beginning dash bioinformatics, and that's going to be the name of your repo for this course, or at least for the learning to code part. The description here doesn't really matter. It's just the file naming that is important. You want to make the visibility public so that when we try to go in and look, me and Adam and Zoe, we can have access. And just in case you have security concerns, this doesn't make your whole account public. It's just making this bioinformatics repo public, okay? And people would have to have the URL to be able to go look at it. Click the button to include a README. I don't remember if the default is on or off, but you want it to generate one. Have it generate a git ignore file for Python. That just makes the commits a little cleaner. There's lots of metadata sometimes, especially when it gets transferred from collab, that we don't really need. It's not relevant to the code. And then license. This is completely optional for you. I put it there just to make you aware. MIT is a super common one for teaching, just because it's like total permissions as long as you give attribution, right? You say where it came from, you can use it for whatever you want. But that dropdown has lots of open source options for if you want to have more limited options for licensing, fine with me. I recommend that you create a different repo for your really awesome ideas and things that you're gonna someday make a fortune on. Okay, we're gonna create a file. So in the upper right, there's an add file button, right? So it's up here. Whoops, it's probably up there. There we go. Right, so up here, we're gonna, oh, that's not it. Oh, add file, right here. I was looking for the plus button. This is the thing that trips me up all the time in GitHub, because if I shrink my window down, at some point that turns into a plus. That's what I was talking about before. It's like screen size aware menus. So click the add file. And we're going to create a new one. Now, GitHub is not a file manager, sometimes it gets a little frustrating if you forget to add paths and things like that. So if we do create a new file, and we want to name the file, this is where we have to enter parts of the path one at a time. So for example, I want to put it in a docs folder, so this is what the instructions tell you in the Word document. As soon as I hit the / button, it populates that path, which, fine, that's kind of cool. But this is where you're going to put the AI file. So again, stick to the naming convention there, AI_usage.md. .md is the file extension for Markdown. It's just a plain text file. You can use Markdown indicators just like we talked about in Colab, but I'm really only using it for the plain text.
Can we give it a / again?
No.
Okay.
If you did / so that it will create a directory with that name.
Okay.
Everything is fixable, so don't, if you accidentally hit enter at the wrong time or forget to put the path in, you can always go back and fix. And then copy and paste or type in this content. Doesn't, it's just a template to remind you the kinds of things that you'll want to put in that folder. You don't have to put an entry in here every time you ask ChatGPT or Gemini something. This is mainly for the Rosalind problems. I want to know how much and what for did you use AI to solve Rosalind problems. And again, I'm encouraging to use it. I just want to know how. And it's good practice, thinking long term when you're doing your own research, keeping a log of things that you got AI help with is a lot easier to do along the way than it is when you get to writing the paper and you're doing the methods and you're trying to remember. Like, did I write that or did AI write that? So having that kind of diary of AI use, very helpful.
The AI use log paste that goes down below, right? Doesn't go in the same box.
No, yeah. So we're gonna, so I already have this file. What happens if so hit commit changes, or sorry, this is what you meant by down below. Yeah, so put the, right, copy this into there, like that. I don't want to save this because I don't want it to overwrite my current one. But put the name in there, and then once you have the content in that text box, hit commit changes. Mm-hmm.
I put the information into the text box, but it won't even let me hit commit changes. It just has it completely with a red stop sign on it.
Mine is doing that too.
Is everything across the top the same?
It says begin graph formatted docs and then AI usage _.
Anybody else having that issue? 2? If it worked for you and you've committed changes, raise your hand.
Put everything down.
Okay. This is the part of the course that never ceases to surprise me. Like, exactly the same instructions, same website. It's like, seems like everybody did the same keystrokes, and some people's works and some doesn't. Yeah.
Press the commit changes button.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
It's still, it's like a fake green. It's like,
Oh, like you clicked that and it just hasn't.
I didn't hit my file.
Oh, okay.
So you can probably just add the direction. You can probably just create it.
Still stop sign?
Work. So is this what it's supposed to look like afterwards?
Yep.
Okay.
So what was it?
So I think the was I had hit the forward slash after so it never saved the information.
Yeah, as much as I love like computer stuff, computers are so stupid. Like, they do not know what you mean at all. They know only exactly what you tell them. And one keystroke away is the same as a million miles away. Go back. So once that actually finishes committing, you should get to a screen that looks something like this. And this is the view from inside your new beginning bioinformatics repo. So it has that docs folder, which it didn't exist. You actually created it when you told it to put that file in docs by doing docs/. The reason that's relevant is when we do our first commit of our Python notebook, I'm going to have you do notebooks / and then the file name. So it creates a folder in this directory called notebooks. And a minute ago I said this is not a file manager, it's a version tracker. Like, you would think there ought to just be, you right click on something and do new folder. That doesn't exist in GitHub. It's actually kind of hard to create a folder. You literally can't create a blank folder in GitHub. So the workaround is you create a placeholder text file in a just so it will create the directory.
I told him to do something, and then he was like, "You can't do that." So,
Well, I didn't know what I did.
Okay, so that's GitHub. You've got your first repo. You're a card-carrying coder now, in case you weren't already. You have your own GitHub repo. All right, so we're going back to Python, and this is where I have the reason there's a Colab notebook to accompany this. This is a new thing for this semester. A lot of what's in here. This is, again, very dense document, trying to explain what commands are, giving you as many tips as I can for how to use them and where people get hung up on them. This is sort of what I feel like are the basics you need in order to understand what ChatGPT and Gemini are going to be telling you. there's going to be tons of vocabulary. When you ask them a plain language question and they give you back code, there's going to be lots of vocabulary that you don't understand. But hopefully by the time you get through the end of this document, you will be able to sort of figure out what's just a vocabulary that I don't understand versus this is just gibberish, right? So giving you an access point, like it's going to go over, what the variable types are, what the operators are, like plus, minus, how it works on numbers versus text, and for loops, how does it iterate on things. And so with that in mind, this is a, 23 and we're on 6. So it's going to take a while for you to work through this. Just anticipate that. If you start this Monday afternoon, you will not finish, okay? But lots of the coding, like this text, when you'll see these little pictures all throughout the document. Most of that text is already typed in over here. And so this goes all the way back to P1, which is stuff that was on the file last time. So these numbers correspond to what's in the Word document as well. So that document starts with input, P6. And so you can see that little picture that I was showing in the Word document, that's already in here. So you don't have to type it. That's also going to save you lots and lots of, this doesn't work because there's a typo, okay? And I copy pasted and it has the wrong ASCII character for the dash, or the wrong kind of quotation marks. All of that stuff will sort of be avoided. There are pros and cons to that, but in terms of what I think is important to learn in the age of AI and large language models, I don't think those headaches are important to overcome anymore. So you can just run these cells and see what they do. Okay. The first one is kind of cool because this is how you can get, even in the notebook, interact with the user. All right, so the input command will ask the user to give it some input. Okay, so I'm going to turn you loose. You can work in groups, you can work by yourselves, you can move the tables around. I didn't ask for this classroom, but it's awesome because you can move all the furniture. Knock yourselves out. If we're walking around and we get the sense that lots of people are hung up in the same spot, I might stop and start explaining stuff. But if you're not at that point, then feel free to ignore, okay? Any questions? Yeah.
So what to do is the Rosalind 1 through 9, but it's on GitHub. Is where you'll find it.
Yeah, so great question. I'm glad you asked just from the start. So if you scroll all the way down to 8.3, in terms of the new stuff, this is the first Rosalind problem that you're going to solve. So that task 8.3 is to go ahead and solve Rosalind problem 2. If you go over to the notebook, right? Let me scroll down here. You can see what this looks like. All right, there's some code there. How do you solve that? Well, here for this one, I've even typed in a bunch of what you need to solve that Rosalind problem, but I left the critical part in how to index, because this is what really I want you to learn from this homework problem. You have to recognize what to fill in right there in order to really get the right answer for Rosalind. So on the Rosalind website, it's going to record when you've completed it successfully. So let me jump over. I'm glad I didn't turn you loose before going over this. Thank you for asking. Okay, so this is what I can see on the back end of Rosalind. So I can see your names, the problem number, and then you have as many attempts as you want. I can see people who have tried, but they haven't gotten it right yet. So this person tried it once, but they haven't gotten it right yet. So it's still red, it says -1. When you get it right, this just has a plus sign, means they got it right on the first try. If it takes you 10 times, it'll say +10, okay? But it'll turn green. So I'm grading that you have green numbers all the way across, okay? Doesn't matter how many times it took, just that it turned green and you've got a plus sign. So that's you'll get points for having all the Rosalind problems done. And then all the way down at the bottom of this document, there's a Canvas assignment GitHub repo submission. So this is really the only assignment that shows up in Canvas because I get the Rosalind part from Rosalind. And so there's instructions here. You're going to give me 2 URLs. They're both GitHub URLs. One's to your whole repo. One is to fixed, called a tag. And there's instructions there for generating that tag. Super simple. I think I put a picture here, yeah. So if you're on your repo page, there's this releases one, and mine shows a tag already, but if you click on that, it will give you options to create a new one. The instructions are all on that page. And if you have questions, just reach out, ask.
Are there instructions on how to upload to Rosalind?
No. So for most of them, you can copy paste, but I didn't think about the big one.
It makes us upload a file for our code. So do we?
Just upload a copy of your notebook every time.
So on Tuesday, we also made like a sheet on the Google Collab called bioinformatics_module 03. That one we're done with now, and we're doing the one from today.
Excellent question. I rename the one. So it's up to you. So the one that's named Bioinformatics Module 3, that's the file name that I'm going to be looking for in the grading. So you have 2 options. You can rename the one that you got today that says Learning Python. I named it that way on purpose so that it wouldn't get confused in your guys's, because you're going to have 2 now in your Google Drive. So feel free to rename this, right? You can just click that and rename it. And because it starts at number 1, right? So you would have everything in this, and then you can use that as your Bioinformatics Module 3.